Guys, hello beautiful people, welcome back. So I gotten some requests from some people on how your kids or how your children can be enrolled in Canadian schools. So primarily there are like three basic kinds of schools in Canada. When you come down to Canada as an immigrant or something and you want to like enroll your children in school, they are the public schools, which is free for everybody. You can just like walk into a public school, enroll your child. It is free of charge. You don't pay anything except for maybe if they are going for excursions or something or anything like that. There are private schools. Some are like just private, some are like Christian private, or as the case might be. And they are the very popular ones that most people go to, Catholic schools. So most people have asked me and I've like shared on how you can get your children enrolled, but I'm just like doing this video for the sake of those that genuinely do not know and really want to get their children into schools. So if you're coming into Canada, don't worry. First thing, anytime you land in Canada, so it's not like your child must be enrolled at the beginning of the calendar year. So it doesn't mean that, oh, because it's September or I'm landing in November or December, my child cannot be in school. The day you land in Canada, once you are ready for your children to go to school, they will get enrolled in school. Let me say that for public schools, like once you go, if you go the next day, most times 9 out of 10 times your children will get enrolled if you have everything. I'll come to that later. So for the Catholic schools, so these are like the things that you might need. I can't say much for private schools. The only thing I know is that you need money, of course, so that one is separate. Like some private schools charge as much as like 15,000 to 20,000 per year per child. The more your children, the lower it might be. So there's like volume discounts for you if you have more children enrolled in that school. That is if you want your children to go to a private school. It might be a Christian private school, it might be another kind of private school, as the case might be. So I've spoken about public schools, private schools. Let's talk about Catholic schools. So for a Catholic school, normally it's open to like Catholics. If you're not Catholic, it might be more difficult for you to get into the school. How do you verify or how do you confirm you are Catholic? Your child or your children must have baptismal cards. If your children do not have, the one of the parents will suffice. So let's say Belinda, Aaron wants to, or they want to go to they want to go to a Catholic school. You want them to go to the Catholic schools. Belinda and Aaron must have their baptismal cards. It's as simple as that. That is the major thing you need to get your children enrolled in a Catholic school. What if they don't have? So you as the mother, let's say you are like Mr. So and so, if you have a baptismal card, it will suffice for your children. So let's say you have 5 kids and one of them does not have, or 2 of them do not have. For the fact that you have or their mother has is enough. I hear that even sometimes, even the grandparents, if they have baptismal cards, they will still collect it. So there has to be someone that will stand in for the children. But I hear that by the time you are going into like higher school, they must have their own baptismal cards. So let's just say that your children are going into elementary school, just like primary school as we know it to be in Nigeria. Once they have their baptismal cards, they will get enrolled into the Catholic schools. If they don't have, the parents should have. My children are in Catholic school. Am I Catholic? No. So but the thing for me is like, fortunately my husband has a Catholic background. He used to like go to a Catholic church before, so that was like the fortunate thing I had. So from my husband's side, let me just say that my children do not have baptismal cards, but from my husband's side, I was able to get his baptismal card, and that was what we tendered to the school, and that was how the school enrolled us. Like I was waiting, I was like, what was going on? Until when I tendered that, they might not answer you, you might not get like feedback, you might call them, you might send them emails, you might say, oh, I want to enroll my child. If you don't tender that certificate, you might just be pushed towards the end of the ladder, and that's the truth. Of course, they will give priority to those who are really Catholics, those that have that baptismal card. So before you leave Nigeria, before you leave Lagos, let's say you never had it before, try to get it as much as possible and everything. Another thing I can tell you is, even if you're not Catholic before, I know some people go for like baptismal classes and everything. If you go for the classes and you can get their baptismal card, they will allow you entrance. So that is it for Catholic schools. Another thing I must tell you, that for all these three schools, public, Catholic, and private schools, please try to get the immunization documents for all your children. If you've not been keeping it before, if you never had it before, probably it was lost or something, try to go back to your health center or anywhere you can get like an affidavit or something. They just need to see that you need your immunization documents. Very, very important, especially for children that are like between 1 to 5. Probably if your child is older, even for my 10-year-old, they still demanded it. So let me just tell you for free, any child below 10 should have like immunization records. They need to see it. You need to update their records, especially for children that are going into daycare. If you don't have it, they might not answer you. Do you understand? And that's the way it is. There's demand. So if you don't have it, of course they will answer those that have it. The last thing I'll tell you to get, of course, is their birth certificate. That is very, very important. So these are the 3 things that are non-negotiable, or let me just say 2 very important things: immunization records, birth certificates. For the case of those that want their children to go to Catholic schools, you need a baptismal card. For the children or for the parents, any will suffice. And once you tender that, they would allow your children entrance. And you've confirmed that pregnancy, just look for a name and go and register your baby in the daycare. That is what people do. Like, once you see that maybe my pregnancy is progressing 3 months, 4 months, people go register that. I am not kidding, guys. It is serious. That is what happens, because sometimes the daycare you want your child to really go to, you might be on the wait list for 1, 2, 3 years. My neighbor has told me that in fact she gave up, and she was like, the child itself has even grown teeth and everything. Like, what is it about? So the one I got, so some people know that my child is in daycare, my baby is in daycare, and like everybody was like to me, how did you do it? So there are centers, like places like centers, they have different names: Tiny Hoppers, Greystone, Cuddly Toddles, Pumpkin Patch. There are a lot of them like that, a lot of all those daycares. And you go to the center just like you're taking your child to school. But I didn't do that one. I didn't get that option. So someone told me about like agencies, like there's some agencies that you register with that they help to get your child into daycare. In the region that I am in Ontario, there's what they call We Watch. There's another one they call Today's Family. So I registered with one of them, and they'll tell you that if you don't want a center, we might not have a center at this point. If you don't mind getting your child into home daycare, that is also possible. So home daycare is like for people, someone like me now, I can say that this is the job. So for instance, I might say this is the job I want to do in Canada. Like I want to be like a licensed like home daycare or something like that. It is licensed, it is fully licensed, and it is very legal. Like there are security cameras everywhere, they check and everything. That person cannot have like their basic standards that your home must have. You must not smoke around the house, all those kind of things. Like the number of people that can be in the house, everybody in the house must be trained to do like CPR. Like even if you have like husband, wife, grandmother and everything, they must be trained to like even take care of those children. Probably maybe when you're in the toilet or something, there must be like somebody around you that can. So those kind of things are always put in place. Like the first time I went to this daycare, there were cameras everywhere, and I was grateful. Coincidentally, there was even like they do like unannounced checks too in those houses. Like they won't let them know when they are coming, they'll just do like random checks and all that. So those kind of things are also available. So that is the kind of daycare I got for my daughter, and it's a home daycare. There's like a maximum of children that they can be taken into those kind of homes. Like you can't have a lot of children. I was a little bit skeptical at first, like, oh, how do I didn't want a home daycare. I wanted like center, like my child was going to school. But as I didn't get that one, I got the home daycare. And people are now even telling me that, to me, they actually like benefit in having home daycare. Like, and my baby is just 1 year old. What is she even really learning at this point? Is like to eat, to like, and they still teach them. So it's really not so much. It might not be like, okay, those full-fledged centers that there are colors everywhere and they are dancing, they are doing this one. But in this woman's way too, she's also training them. They have like certain things they need to do, like nap time, the kind of meals they eat. Like my daughter came back and she's so independent right now. Like even my mom was shocked. Like, my daughter feeds herself. Like, she wants to even feed herself. If you want to feed her, she won't even allow you. Like, the kind of nutrition they give them too. My daughter comes back, she enjoys eating strawberries, kiwis, bananas, like healthy food. And I'll be like, oh my goodness, yogurt. Another thing I should mention is that in these daycare centers, they are required to feed your children. So sometimes you might not need to like take food for them. My own case, I pack food for my children. My children's school they don't give them food. Some schools give food, some schools do not give food. I'm fine with that. It's something I've been used to even from Nigeria. So I pack a lunch bag for them every single day, and I do the same thing for my daughter as well, because my daughter's diet is like not the usual one. She might not eat everything that others are taking and all that. So I just usually pack a little bit of stuff for her, so that in case they are serving something she does not like, she still has something to eat which she's familiar with. So I do that every single day. So, but one thing I'll tell you is that all the daycares, or let me just say most of the daycares I know, they are required to feed your children. Don't put anything in that. Don't put anything. Like, people just take their children and that's it. Like, from morning till like evening, from like 7 a.m. or is it like from 8 a.m. they have like breakfast, lunch, snacks in between. They feed them, and they feed them really well. There are guidelines that these people must adhere to, which they feed them well, and they really do that. So that's what I'm happy for, and that's why it's a struggle getting into the daycares, because they are required to take care of your children really well. So that's it for this daycare centers. So let me come back to the home daycare. So it's almost the same thing replicated, but it's not as full-fledged. And like somebody was telling me that, to me, your daughter is still little. So let's say you just put her in this home daycare for 1 year or something. By the time she's 2, she can now graduate to the higher one, those daycare centers. And I didn't mind, because my daughter is still like, she's still a baby. She's just coming out from infanthood into toddler stage. So it's still fine. This is someone that's is still wearing diapers, does not talk so much yet. So this is like, so basically at this point, what I really need for her is like a nanny, someone to care for her. I allow my children grow at their pace. I won't force you to start learning ABC at this point. So just be yourself and just grow gradually. And it has really even helped her, even with the other kids from the other, like, they're like 6, maximum of 6. They've even taught her as well. She comes back home and she's like singing along, oh, Miss Rachel, Miss, they all know it. So that kind of thing, that in itself too is not bad. Like, even the house I take her to, there are things that are required for them. No matter how cold it is, they will tell you that just dress the child up warmly, because for the fact that it is cold does not mean that we are going to stay in the house in like all day. There are times they need to go out, there are times they need to like take vitamin D, there are times when it is sunny, they go out to play, they play with sand, they do all those kind of things, and everything is established in that home. Almost all the things, the kind of toys you will find in the daycare center, the building, the daycare like school center, you'll almost find something like that. It's not as full-fledged, definitely, but it's similar. So I really did not mind. And for me, I just thought about like, you can't eat your cake and have it. And I still like the fact that, okay, there are positives about that as well. Somebody told me that it might not be as bad, because one thing I'll tell you, that once your child is going to daycare, they might start getting sick, because many children come together. This one has flu, this one has, and all that. They're touching each other and all that. For my daughter, it's not so. She gets that, but it's not as intense. Probably if she was like in a big daycare center, it might be worse. But no matter what, I'm still thankful for everything. It's God that knows really and all that. So those are kind of things that people just like used to like allay my fears, that it's still like, you still have positives and negatives from everything. So just look at everything. And then at the end of the day, what I really wanted was like someone to help me take care of my children whilst I can't be watching over them, or when I can't be there to watch over them. And it gives me like, it helps me Monday to Friday. All the children have where they're going to, they all go to school, so I have time to like do some other things. So that's one thing I'll tell you. So in case you're trying to get your children into daycare, maybe you might consider the home daycare for those that have like younger children between the ages of 1 to 4. By 4 in Ontario, they go into the big school, they go into junior kindergarten. But between that, before that time, where do they go to? If you don't mind having them in the house with you, why not? Some people are like, some people want to homeschool their children, some people want to have their children with them. But if you're someone that you need to put your child somewhere, you might want to consider that, like the home daycares, just in case you're not getting the centers. I'll tell you that one, getting your child into a center might be pretty difficult. Another thing, on that clause I should really add is that, don't let me just conclude that getting your child into the daycare centers might be difficult. The age of the child also matters. I even told someone, like someone that came after me, got a child into a daycare center almost immediately, like 2 weeks after they got here. And that's a miracle in itself. One thing that helped her was her child was not as young as my child. Our daughter is about 3. So the older your child, it might be a little bit more easier for you to get your children into daycare. Like maybe your child is 2 years old, 2.5 years old, 3 years, it might be quite easier. Once your child is an infant, when I came, my daughter was just a year, exactly a year. My daughter was exactly a year when we landed in Canada. And that age is not, it's difficult to get at that age. Excuse me. Infants is quite difficult for infants. From toddler stage, it's a little bit easier. Not so easy, but a little bit easier. So that's it. I hope I have touched every point. For food, for uniforms, for how they can get enrolled and everything. So, and everything depends on your region. Canada is huge. Canada is really huge. How it obtains in my place might be difficult for how it obtains in your place. Another thing is that the area you stay also determines. Some places are quite easier. I have friends, I'm in Ontario. My friends that are like in Brampton, in Mississauga, in Oakville, it was quite easier for them to get their children into like daycare centers or schools. If you are somewhere like you're going towards Niagara, St. Catharines, Caledonia, because those places are not yet like, it's like, let's just say, not like it's not yet developed, it's like the influx of people is not so much, so they don't have a lot. It might be a little bit more difficult and all that. So your area also determines if it will change anything. That might be also something you might consider, if it might change anything. I don't know. And probably you're still in Nigeria. If there's someone that can help you start the process before you get here, especially for daycare, maybe you can start. The only thing you need is, they don't even need to see you physically. Many of these places, they don't even want you to come physically to their office. They'll be wondering why you're coming. Everything is online. Start registering online, start booking online and all that, and you'll be fine. So that's it, guys. I hope I've been able to answer every question you want. That's it for daycares, schools in Canada. And if you feel there's something else I should talk about, please drop a comment and I'll gladly respond to that. I hope to see you in subsequent videos. Stay healthy, stay beautiful. Bye.